Welcome to the Peaceful Pause. Today I'll share the story of a young traveler and an elder who teaches a valuable lesson about patience and the power of taking life one step at a time. Close your eyes if you like, and let yourself be transported to a quiet, mist-covered mountain where our story begins. It was early morning when the young traveler arrived at the foot of the mountain. They had heard stories about this place, a place of breathtaking views and rare beauty, hidden far beyond where most would dare to venture. The traveler had spent days preparing for this journey. They packed light, bringing only the essentials, and carried a single carefully folded map with directions to the mountain summit. It's a long journey, they had been told, and only the patient will make it to the top. But the traveler was determined. They were ready to see what lay beyond the clouds. As the traveler approached the trailhead, they noticed an elderly guide standing quietly, waiting for those who wished to attempt the climb. The elder was tall and strong, though age had softened his features. His hair was silver, and his face, marked with lines of time, seemed to carry a wisdom beyond words. The elder looked the traveler over, as if reading their story with a single glance. "Are you ready for the path?" the elder asked. The traveler nodded eagerly. "Yes, I've prepared. I've packed well and I've studied the map. I'll be quick. I want to see the summit before sunset." The elder's eyes crinkled in a smile, both knowing and gentle. "The summit is always there," he replied. "But if you rush, you may never truly reach it. Will you walk with me instead?" The traveler hesitated. They were eager to climb, to see what lay above, and yet there was something compelling about the elder's offer, something calm and unhurried. With a nod, the traveler agreed, and together they set off along the stone path. As they began, the path was wide and open, winding gently through the early morning fog. The air was cool, crisp, and filled with the scent of pine and earth. "Why did you decide to climb this mountain?" the elder asked as they walked. The traveler thought for a moment before answering. "I wanted to prove I could do it, that I could conquer something great, that I could reach the top." The elder nodded, listening with patience. After a few minutes, the traveler began to notice the roughness of the stones under their feet. Each step required focus as the path grew narrower and more uneven. But they kept going, one step at a time. The elder pointed to a small, delicate flower growing between two rocks on the side of the path. "Do you see that flower?" he asked. The traveler nodded, barely glancing at it before looking back up toward the trail. "This flower," the elder continued, "grows only here at this part of the path. If you don't stop to notice it, you may never see it again." Curious, the traveler looked closer, taking in the flower's soft lavender petals, its tiny yellow center, and the way it seemed to thrive, even in the harshness of its surroundings. After a moment, they continued up the trail, but now they found themselves glancing around, noticing the other small details that had once been hidden. Rocks in interesting shapes, tiny streams trickling down the mountainside, patches of green moss that felt like velvet. The elder's words seemed to echo, "If you don't stop to notice, you may never see it again." As they climbed higher, the trail grew steeper, and the traveler began to feel the strain in their legs. Their breaths became heavier, and they felt the weight of each step. They glanced up, hoping to catch a glimpse of the summit, but it remained hidden behind layers of fog. "Are we close?" the traveler asked, feeling the impatience bubbling up within. The elder smiled, unbothered by the pace. "Each step brings us closer," he replied. "But I don't see it," the traveler said. "How will I know when we're almost there?" The elder paused and gestured around them. "This is the summit," he said quietly. "This step, and the one before, and the one that will come after, each one is a part of the summit." The traveler frowned, a bit confused. "If you only focus on the distant goal," the elder explained, "you'll miss the journey itself, and by the time you reach the top, you'll have forgotten everything along the way." The traveler let these words sink in, feeling both frustration and a deep sense of calm. They continued, and with each step, the traveler found themselves more present. The elder didn't speak much, but his quiet presence seemed to fill the path with peace. As they moved forward, the traveler began to find beauty in each step. The crunch of gravel beneath their boots, the whisper of wind through the trees, the shifting patterns of light and shadow. The summit became less important. Each step felt meaningful, as if it contained the entire journey within it. Finally, as the sun began to dip low in the sky, they emerged from the fog, reaching an open ledge. Below them lay a view that stretched for miles, forests, rivers, and valleys painted in hues of orange and gold by the setting sun. The traveler took a deep breath, feeling a profound sense of peace and accomplishment, not from the summit itself, but from the journey that had led them here. "Thank you," the traveler said softly to the elder. "I understand now." The elder placed a hand on their shoulder and smiled. The summit is always within reach, but the journey is what gives it meaning. The traveler gazed out over the landscape, realizing that each step along the stone path had been a part of this moment, and each small discovery along the way had been a summit in itself. In life, we often fixate on the distant goals, rushing to reach the top. But sometimes it's the journey that shapes us, that teaches us the true beauty of each step. Thank you for joining me on the Peaceful Pause. May you find peace, patience, and joy in each step of your own journey. If you like the story, please support the channel by liking and subscribing for more peaceful pauses in the future.